Otakuology Podcast with Otaku Mike and Jin Graves.
Hey, how's it going? Otaku Mike here. Just want to let you guys know this episode was recorded months ago, probably like 4 or 5 months ago. And views and opinions have changed, possibly, maybe some, with the episode that we had a couple months ago, which was our hentai episode that happened. Boomers don't understand manga type one we did. So yeah, this one was in our backlog. We had nothing to release this week. So hope you guys enjoy, and we'll catch you guys next week for another fun-filled episode. Enjoy, listen, let us know what you think. See you later. Hello, welcome to the Otakuology Podcast. I am Otaku Mike. With me, as always, is my co-host, Jin Graves. How's it going?
Sup, guys?
It's going good? Yeah, I hope it's going good. If you're new to the podcast, we talk about a lot of nerdy things. If you've listened, you know what we talk about.
That makes us sound like perverts. If you listen, you know. Especially when you do it in a deep voice. If you listen, you know what we talk about.
We're going to get into some ASMR sexual shit right now, just saying.
Oh my gosh. BDSM.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Our favorite show is Bondage.
Oh my gosh. That just makes me think it's gonna be long.
Is it bond? No, it's bonding. That's what it's called.
You're gonna be like, we're gonna do an ASMR on BDSM.
Yeah, totally. We're gonna talk about it like this.
Stay tuned, because everybody listening is a VIP.
But we kind of got inspired by people within the community, friend of the podcast, about coming out, or this sounds weird, but exposing yourself to people as an anime and manga fan.
This is not getting any better.
I don't know what words to use, to be honest, without sounding terrible.
So,
wait. I just thought of something. We show up with trench coats on, and we open them up, and it's just anime and manga.
Oh my god! Shit!
You know, like a flasher, but with just anime and manga.
Yeah. Man. Yeah. Anyway, that's what we're talking about, from the ages of when you start reading, watching manga, and how people have kind of had to get around the whole thing of not feeling like they would be accepted for watching, listening, playing whatever anime, manga, whatever.
Yeah, totally.
So
totally
things like that,
Yeah. So you want to start us off?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Start us off.
Yeah. Where should I start? Like my story, or
why don't we start with yours, and we'll kind of interweave.
So, I've never had a problem with with that. Yeah. And now it took me a little while to get into it because I didn't know what it was. But I do know that there are other people that were in my life that had issues like this. One of them being basically like my dad. We actually own some of the old stuff. If you ever hear us on the podcast, sometimes when we talk about Demon City Shinjuku, some of the other stuff, those were movies that my dad actually had. Ninja Scroll, shit like that I didn't actually know were anime. And that was stuff. Ronin Warriors was something my dad got me into, different stuff like that. And some of it could pass as a TV show and you not have to worry about it. Other things like Demon City Shinjuku, things like that, were ones that it almost seemed like they were pushed to the back of the closet and like
Mm-hmm.
hey, these are like rated PG-13 or rated M titles, like
Mm-hmm.
Gladiator, things like that that had blood and gore or
Well,
whatever.
I mean, to be honest, when like anime came over here, like back in the '90s, we did get a lot of really violent stuff that was like on like direct to video and stuff like that.
Right.
And we would get things like on the Sci-Fi Channel, like Anna Mondays and stuff like that, where they would play anime at a certain point.
See, and
Before,
I didn't even know that until it was later on, when they
yeah,
actually did come out and have a time slot for it.
yeah, so, like we would get anime here and there, but I feel like one thing that does kind of give anime a bad rap is the media itself.
That's true.
Back then when anime was starting to come out and be more prevalent, because I mean we did have things like Astro Boy and Gigantor and stuff like that,
Yeah.
on like way back in the day before I think I was even born. Uh,
Yeah. And, Speed Racer, that was one that my dad
yeah,
loved too.
Speed Racer,
You know,
but that was marketed like not as anime. It was marketed as just cartoons, you
right.
know. But there was a certain point in time where we started to get like really violent stuff, like seem I can't talk Demon City Shinjuku or
Right. Which
Violet
that one showed some boob.
or what was that one I watched instead? I can't remember what it was off the top of my head. Like
Uh
Ninja Scroll.
Devil City.
Was it Devil City? I don't remember what
I
I don't
think
remember what
that's
it
what
was
it is
called
because
now.
one of them I kept forgetting what it was, and you kept going, "No, it's this one. No, it's the other one." Like because both of them almost go hand in hand, and they're both like
Yeah,
demon or devil, and you're like,
yeah, I can't
okay."
remember. I remember watching it. And I ended up watching the wrong show at the time for that.
Fuck, I gotta rewatch.
But like even like over in the UK, like anime was like pretty heavily censored and stuff like that because of all these violent OVAs and stuff that we were getting, which I feel like it caused anime in general to get a
Right.
really bad rap.
Well, and I think just like thinking back to it, like ones that I did hear people talk about were always ones that heavily focused on like military things like
Hmm.
Robotech or Gundam. Like
Hmm.
most of the
Which is
time those
which
ones were acceptable, but again, they weren't viewed as anime.
well, and which is the thing is though, like Robotech or Macross or like even Voltron were really big in the '80s, and then like it kind of sort of almost vanished after that, and kind of
Oh
like
yeah.
went away a little bit. It seems like.
Oh right. And they had a resurgence and it kind of went away again and they had
Hmm.
another resurgence, so
Uh-huh.
we do have
Yeah,
multiple things that have come back multiple times.
yeah. I mean, because I remember like you had the Yu-Gi-Oh's, Pokemon, stuff like that, and like the Pokemon was acceptable because that was like a huge phenomenon.
It was.
But like people still couldn't grasp it, or I guess you could say the older generations couldn't really grasp it all too much. Um, I remember not like saying I liked anime for the longest time. I would kind of keep it to myself and not talk about it. I didn't really even when I like got older and I found people talking about anime, like I wouldn't necessarily talk about it myself. I would kind of sit in the back and just listen to their conversations. And if I felt comfortable, I would chime in with something and people would be like, "Oh, you watch anime?" Like, "Yeah, I do. I don't talk about it that much. Uh, you know, obviously for the fear of being criticized because I mean anime definitely is something different and it's a very niche very it was a very niche
Yeah.
hobby, I guess you could say.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah.
Which and that's something else. Like, even with Pokemon, like, and I only know this because one of my brothers had to deal with it growing up too. Like, wasn't allowed to even like have Pokemon because
This Pokemon's
they
the devil.
they were from the devil. Animals shouldn't use that. It promoted, um, basically like
Animal
dog
abuse.
fights, animal abuse, animal
Yeah.
cruelty, like all this other crap to it. And you're like, what?
Yeah, like what? Like what are we talking about here?
Or like, but I mean, then you have to think about like even like board game wise, like D&D went through that. Like,
True, with the whole satanic panic stuff.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and it just kind of it makes it kind of funny, I think, because people did that. And I really don't think like religious groups coming out thought about it too much ahead of time, because when they did that, instead of using it to promote a better way, they ended up screwing themselves over.
I mean,
Um, but that's a thing leading back into our subject. You know, there were people that were nerd people in church that were like, I can't talk about this because it was seen as, oh man, if my mom found out that I liked this stuff, then I would get labeled as a
mhm.
pervert or, um, a sexual deviant, or, oh man, I was going to be a violent kid or whatever, like all the fucking speculations we had back in the day. Video games making kids, super violent and all this other crap too.
Mhm. Why do you think that is? Why do you think people uh think so negatively about like
Of
anime and
of anime and
manga?
stuff.
Yeah.
Um, Back in the day,
Yeah.
they didn't know how to handle it. They
But do
we came off of a lot of people being more military built families,
uh
and people that really didn't get to branch out more. And you know what I'm talking about. Fucking stone cold hard military guys that are like, "Oh, I smoke every day. I have a bottle of whiskey every night. Me and your grandma bang the sheets every night too." Shit like that. And if they weren't stationed over in Japan or anything, they didn't bring any of that shit back. you know
yeah.
and it was always, that's for Nancy boys, those are for pansies.
Yeah.
And I really think that was part of it. You had that on one side, and you had this religious shit on the other side that was really like, hey, all that stuff doesn't make any fucking sense. You can't enjoy it, because if it
Yeah.
takes up your time and you ain't reading your Bible or something else like that, it's evil. I mean, that's
Yeah.
what it is.
Yeah, no, I mean like most definitely. Like I remember like I had some friends who would we would talk, we would play like Yu-Gi-Oh stuff like that. We would kind of talk about anime, but anime wasn't readily available. And I remember one specific time, it was during I think it was during Christmas. We had
Yeah,
stopped at a Walmart and I had some money available and I picked up Akira and
yeah.
the Escaflowne movie on DVD. I think they were like maybe like $10 a piece, you know. So I had some money and I was like, oh cool.
Were
Anime.
they were they on VHS or DVD?
It was DVD at the time.
Okay,
DVD had been around for a couple years
okay,
at that time. Like DVD wasn't like this was past its like infancy stage at the time.
okay.
So it was like in the middle. It was before Blu-rays. I know that much. It
Yeah,
was like the old like pioneer release of Akira. And I remember nobody was watching TV. They were all like doing other things, and I was alone in the living room. And I was like, well, I want to watch this movie. So I put on Akira at my uh, family's house, and I think it was my aunt's house. And my family is is very country, I should say. You know. It's the best way I can explain it. But they're all nice people for the most part.
They're country.
They're country, you know. And I remember watching it, and I remember I was enjoying it, and uh, I remember my uncle comes in. He's like, "What the fuck are you watching, boy?" And I'm like, I'm watching a movie." He's like, what is it? Is this that Japanimation stuff from the Japanese?" And I'm like, maybe. I'm not for sure. He's like, turn that shit off. And it just so happened to come to the part where I think like there's a girl getting hassled, and like she gets like her shirt torn off or something. And he's like, this is not appropriate for children like you. And I'm like 14 at the time.
I feel like this is a good like thing. This isn't appropriate for children like you. I'm 24.
I'm 24. Okay, goddamn. Which I'll lead that into something else later.
Oh my god!
I guess I can lead into that now. And so I had to turn off Akira, and I was so upset that I couldn't finish my movie. All I wanted to do
away or something.
No, it got like put away, and eventually I got it. I got it again, and yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if I got it back at that time, but eventually I got another copy. Like I remember, like even in like relationships, like I wouldn't talk about anime. I wouldn't like talk about my hobbies at all. My hobbies would become the other person's hobbies, or their hobbies would become my hobbies, I could say. And I would have like these secret hobbies, of collecting comic books and doing this and doing that. I remember exactly. I've talked about this a little bit. Eventually, when I had my child, I remember I was like full blown in like otaku mode where I had like all this stuff. I had all this stuff, and I remember it to this day. The mother of my child saying, "You need to give up these childish things. You don't need a hobby. We're parents now. We don't have hobbies because we're parents." And I'm like, "What? What are you talking about?" My daughter is older now. She's 9. She's developing into to her own, and she likes anime for the most part. She likes watching it occasionally. She's enjoyed building models. She's done that and playing video games and stuff like that. So we share a lot of the very similar same hobbies. That she's picked up here and there.
Right.
Throughout
and
life.
I really enjoy, like, since I got to meet all of y'all in person, whenever y'all go to the model shop or whatever, and she goes, "Jacob, guess what I got?" You got her like a new Pokemon model or something like that. Because I'm like, I'm envious. I want one of those. But and I think the same way, like for my kid, because I kind of had the same situation. Like I was allowed to do it, but I was allowed to do it, but I wasn't allowed to embrace it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like I could have it, but it all had to stay in one room. If I was reading a book and maybe I wanted to have like the next 5 books I was going to read on my nightstand, it was like, hey, you can't read that many in a night. Why don't you keep one of those, and then you can have one sitting there, shit like that,
Like mine was very much like I couldn't do it at all.
Right.
Like I used to go to anime nights. I used to host anime nights at my house, and we used to watch anime. I used to watch anime with my friends. I would go to their houses and watch anime every Friday. And like once I got into this relationship, like I was like, it was cut off fucking cold turkey. Right. I think we did like one anime night, and like they would always have like excuses come up, and like she would be like, "Oh, I don't want to go. I don't feel good. This and that. I don't want to watch anime." Which it came to find out that she was like a fake fan. Like she
Yeah.
pretended to be a fan. Like,
Yeah.
but she herself didn't have any hobbies as well. She just wanted to watch like trash, like reality TV shows and
Right. Well,
all this kind.
that's the funny thing is you and me almost have like the exact same background
Yeah,
with those people, which is
yeah,
hilarious to me.
yeah. And then
But
I was thinking like which led to something else. Like I was being fucking gaslighted. I was being separated from everything that I loved and cared about.
right,
All for this person who I thought I cared about, who I thought I loved.
right.
I lost myself in this
This
situation,
this is very true.
and I grew to not enjoy the hobbies that I enjoyed. Like I I started like selling things off, forced to be sold, have things sold off. I remember one time she took all my stuff to half price books, and I'm like sitting at work waiting to be picked up because we only had one car at the time. And I'm like, "Where are you?" And she's like, "Oh, I'm at half price books. I'm getting rid of your stuff. They're offering me like $200 for like I think I had like 5 boxes of things." I'm like,
Yeah,
the fuck you are doing that?"
yeah,
I was like, tell them no, bring all that shit back." You know,
right.
it's crazy. I remember this other time, like we were like so hard up on cash, and because I made I was forced into like some stupid like financial decisions, so I was like fucking like dirt poor, like scrounging for money.
Yeah,
uh I was even on like food stamps at the time. Well, I wasn't on food stamps, but she was on food stamps, and I was like the government assistance and whatnot, which I'm
Wick,
thankful I'm not. What?
Wick.
Yeah, WIC. It was WIC. Yeah, and we also had food stamps, And I remember like I had like no I had maybe like $5 in my bank account. And I remember to this day, I had just bought whatever new One Piece game came out. I think it was like One Piece Unlimited World something. I don't remember what it was called. It was on the PS3. I
Yeah,
bought it. It was like $20 or something like that. I bought it. And I was like, "Oh yeah, that's cool." I had like just got it like a week ago. And I remember to this day, she picked me up from work, and she was like, "Hey, you want to go to McDonald's and get something to eat?" I was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, sure, get some dinner." And I was like, "Wait, how do we have money? We don't have any money. It's not even payday, you know?"
yeah,
And I come home, I sit down, I turn on my PlayStation, reach over to get my games. I had like maybe like 5 games.
yeah.
None of my games are there.
Oh my god,
She took my games to a pawn shop and pawned all my games for $25
that's
just so
shitty.
we just fucking very shitty, right?
Yeah,
I was so fucking mad. I was like, "This is the fucking last straw." And I fucking took my kid and left.
yeah.
I was only staying in that relationship because of the kid.
That's true.
Yeah. Anyways,
That's
I'm
true.
sorry for
Hey,
going on a weird tangent.
like I said, you and I have kind of the same stories with all that crap. I feel like I had a good support system that no matter what happened in that relationship, they were always still around me. And,
Hmm.
you know, even though things would happen, when it would get down to it where I felt like I was getting into that point of not, getting peer pressure gaslighted into, hey, you should sell this stuff,
Yeah.
always had somebody go, hey, if you really can't make it to the end of the week, let me know. I'll give you $20.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Like now, I sell stuff off occasionally, but it's because I want to sell it off.
right. Or give
It's
it away.
never it or I give it away. I feel generous. I want to give something away. It's because I want to do it. Like my wife, like I love my wife. She has her hobbies. I have my hobbies. We don't discourage each other from having hobbies. Sometimes our hobbies intersect a little bit. And whatnot. And but like she's accepting of my hobbies.
Right.
Even though she busts my balls about watching anime or whatever, she's like, as long as you have money to pay the bills, I don't care and you're not hurting anybody. I don't care what you do in your spare time. As long as you come back and you spend time with the family, don't like sequester yourself off.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I somewhat feel that way just from like how my family is
Mm-hmm.
set up. Like I said, my dad is one of the people that kind of started getting me into stuff without me really knowing. I had cousins that were into it. My grandma would sit there and watch Pokemon with us and
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that because they really wanted the kids to enjoy themselves, things like that. And if they knew that, then they knew that some of us weren't out doing drugs or drinking or anything else like
Yeah.
that. And and then I had family that was like, well, you're reading, that's a
Yeah.
positive.
Yeah.
Um shit like that. And it I think it's funny, like looking at it from then and then looking at it now. Like I can sit down with my kid and turn on a cartoon or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and he will sit there and be like, oh my gosh, I love this. He might not be fully invested yet. He might not even really know what's going on, but he kind of knows the stuff, um and like you and I kind of were talking about earlier, like comic stuff. you know we'll watch something, or I'll turn it on and I'll watch it, and he'll turn around and be like, hey bud. But yeah, I mean, like even if I have something on in the background or whatever, like it's stuff that he can relate to. um
Mm-hmm.
like before the show, you and I were talking about the newest episode of Moon Knight. Now, he's doesn't really care. It's not something that he focuses on or whatever when I'm watching it. But um whenever we go to one of my brother's houses who has a Moon Knight action figure and all this other stuff, he can sit there and point out and say, hey daddy, that's Moon Knight, and that's the Hulk, and that's Captain America, and there's Spider-Man. And for all of the stuff, and coming so far to like him being in speech therapy, well shit, he sure as hell knows a lot of superheroes and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So and I think that it's kind of passing down the mantle too, because this is something that my dad kind of showed me and did with me, and now things that I kind of do with my little boy.
I mean, but you could say, like, totally, you could say before, like, we didn't have that before.
Right.
Like we didn't have somebody to pass it down to us.
Right.
We were all kind of in this fandom together at the time,
Right.
discovering it, like a new fandom discovering it. So we didn't have that, and you could say now we are the ones who are passing it down, like you said, to the
Right.
newer generation, or not saying like newer people who are coming in to the fandom. They don't have to be young. They can be older too, and they can come in and enjoy it just like everybody else.
Right. Well, and I think to some degree you have to have a level of acceptance too. Like
Mm-hmm.
you and I were talking about earlier, there are plenty of people that do see this niche as something even worse.
As
Um
childish.
right. Well, and I don't want to put it on the same level because there's other things that mean more. It's really weird to say it this way, how I'm going to say it, but it's the only way
All
that
right. Yeah.
I can really put the stamp on it. But
Uh-huh.
um friends and stuff that even you and I have that give us their come out stories of being gay and whatnot,
Mm-hmm.
like that's a thing as well, kind of with manga sometimes. And it's really weird because
Yeah.
I don't know why that's a thing. It's really weird because something that is your sexuality, race, whatever it is, something that is your person that you cannot change, and a hobby, it doesn't make sense why people get judged so harshly on those levels just for a hobby.
True. That is definitely true.
And I mean, I've even seen sometimes where, oh, and I hate it, where I've been in the same room with people having a conversation. They don't care about if you're trans, if you're gay, if whatever,
Yeah.
da da da. They don't care about any of that. But then if you bring up, hey, I'm into anime, they're like, stop talking about that shit.
Yeah.
That is not something that we talk about. That does not need to be in here. And you're like, what the fuck?
Like, oh, I watched this show, it was really good,
It doesn't make any sense to me, And I don't know why some individuals feel like that's what it needs to be like, but they do put it on those levels sometimes.
I had something kind of similar happen at work. So we work in this big room, and each department is kind of sectioned off in this big room. We're in the back, and there's like a half wall in between where I sit and my coworker sits, and the team in front of us is a bunch of like college students who are all obviously nerds or like geeky stuff. And there's this one guy, like they all talk about like anime and manga and stuff, And there's one guy, he just keeps going on and on and on and on about like Demon Slayer or like Naruto or something like that, whatever the kids are into these days. And normally I have my headphone in and I listen to my whatever I'm listening to, and sometimes I can hear it, sometimes I can't. But my coworker, who is a little older, he can't, he doesn't want to hear it because it's like he's constantly talking about it, and you can see he's loud enough to to hear it. You can hear him from like you can hear the conversation that he's talking about, which is understandable. You're there to work, not chit chat and really make friends, honestly. So like I can see both sides of the scenario, as a fan. But for him as well, he's there to work. There's you don't constantly chit chat and you can't. There's a very fine balance between that, and he was getting really mad. Like he was getting really upset.
And that's the weird thing with that, though, is the way that you're describing it is it's two separate things.
Yeah.
And it's weird because in my work environment, we'll be moving around and me and one of my coworkers will be talking about anime or whatever, or something like that. And we'll be on the other side and we'll still be working the whole time. So it's really funny that how you're describing it, it makes it sound like okay, you're doing this, you have to stop work to talk about this, and then you come back and you work again. So it's really funny.
Because we're constantly like we're constantly working. We're sitting at a computer, entering stuff in, stuff like that. Right. The people on the other side are supposed to be fixing like the units that are being sent out.
Right.
But they're, instead of fixing the units, they're sitting there just talking.
Right.
So it's different,
Yeah.
And like we chit chat and talk as when make small talk and stuff and whatnot. And like my coworker knows that I had like anime, and I don't really bring it up a lot, but they know I have a podcast and YouTube channel and stuff like that. And for him, he was just getting really upset, and so I walk over to the dude. I was like to the guy talking about anime. I was like, dude, I was like, look here, I'm not trying to be a dick, but I like anime and manga just as much as the next person. But some people are actually trying to work, and you're kind of being a little too loud, and you're annoying some people, And after that, I didn't hear anything whatsoever.
Rasengan!
After that, and I was like,
fuck up!
I was like, oh man, like I hope I didn't scare the dude, you know?
Oh my god. He quit that day, resigned.
No, he's still there.
Jesus
He's
Christ.
he's still there, you know. And I was trying to be as
Well,
nice as possible.
well, so let me throw this out because we have seen, and honestly, this is just something that's come to mind while we've been talking about this
Yeah.
because you and I haven't even thought about talking about this yet.
Uh
But
huh.
do you know, the other thing that I want to put is we've talked about basically being hidden, away, like hiding yourself away from society and whatever, not letting
Uh
them
huh.
know that this is a part of your life or anything else.
Yeah.
It's the redheaded stepchild that nobody knows about.
Yeah.
Um,
Basically.
you know, but on the flip side of this, right?
Mm-hmm.
How much is too much?
Oh yeah. No, most definitely. How much is too much?
You know,
Yeah.
um, I really don't think like if you sport your wear and it's anime style or whatever, um, if you have a backpack or whatever, I think when it comes out where your radiation, like this in this situation that you talked about, of
Mm-hmm.
being annoying about it
Yeah.
is kind of where the line is that it gives a lot of people the bad name. Not so much that
Yeah.
you dress up or whatever, but when you kind of, and not even like really coming at somebody, but
Mm-hmm.
when you like anime or whatever and you're very open about it or whatever, I think
Yeah.
when you intercept somebody's bubble,
Yeah. No, totally.
you get that, like they have a bubble
Yeah.
and then that bubble has a bubble.
Yeah.
I
Your
I
bubble.
think
Your bubble goes into their bubble.
yeah, they're extra bubble. I
Yeah.
think that's when it gets a little too much for people,
Yeah.
you know, um, because nobody's going to be able to say anything, but a lot of people also aren't open about it. It's not like being a kawaii girl or anything else like that.
Yeah, yeah. No, I totally. I feel like there are different levels of being a otaku or weeb, and some people can take it to the extreme. But I feel like a lot of people are honestly like low key, just average people.
Right.
They might have a jacket, they might have a patch or a sticker on the back of their car. Or
It'll be like Way of the House Husband or the one that you're reading right now, Sakamoto Days or whatever.
yeah,
Like secretly you do this, but then secretly you're an anime manga nerd, okay?
yeah.
And when somebody crosses the line with you, you're like, hold on, let me tell you about this shit, okay? That's
I mean,
kind of
I have no problem nowadays like talking to people about it, but first honestly I want to feel that person out
right.
and be like, okay, it's accepting to talk about this with them, because some people aren't always that accepting.
Well, and that's the other funny thing is we talked about people that don't like it not accepting you.
Yeah,
What about
yeah,
people that do like the same shit that don't accept you either?
true.
Because
That
there
is
is
definitely
that
true.
group of people,
If you don't like this specific thing, you're not one of the cool kids.
right? Oh, you don't know when Naruto got used his Rasengan for the first time? You can't name off the chapter and the page and
No, but I
what
know when
you know.
I know when Naruto peed on Ino.
Then they'd be like, "See, you're not a real fan, fake fan."
I know when he peed on Ino off the castle.
See,
I know that.
fake fan.
But I know it 'cause it's
That's
from the
what it is.
filler. Okay, it's from the
Too bad,
filler arc.
fake fan.
Okay, okay, fine, fine. I'm a fake
But
fan.
but
Fake fan.
that's the other thing that gets me though is why there are so many people even in the community
Or
that do
or
that shit.
or when we get to this, actually, can you pause? Can I go let my dog out? He keeps barking.
Yeah.
Sorry that I was interrupted by my dogs wanting to go out, and yeah, what a dick. But as I was saying, or if you get into this in the fandom, like you get like that the person kind of like the gatekeeper almost, especially with like women fans. I see this a lot. Like, oh, when did so and so do so blah 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 Naruto, and like almost like testing people like they're a true fan. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, that's so weird. Like, you have to like pass a test to be considered an anime fan or a manga fan or something like that.
Yeah.
Or a fan in general, which is really weird. I've seen this before, and I feel like I might have done this before back in the day. I feel really bad about it.
Yeah.
Just thinking about my younger self back then, as I think about it. But yeah, like, it's just
Right.
so weird. Like,
Well, and then there's the one thing that I think about, like, every person is basically the same. Every creator is the same.
yeah,
If it's whatever, then it's your friend. You can joke about it or whatever. In
mm-hmm.
whatever kind of way you want. And then you have some males that are just such horn dogs that are like, I'm going to try and protect every woman out there by, criticizing this or that about this other person.
Yeah,
And you're like, they can defend themselves, okay?
yeah,
Like, if it gets too bad, most of the time they'll ask for help. It's
mm-hmm.
not like you have to be a white knight on shit.
I mean, you could say we have seen that somewhat in being in like the online community a little bit.
That's very true.
You know,
That's
or
very true.
yeah.
Which, I think that spills over into a lot of
Mm-hmm.
different things as well.
Oh, that definitely spills over into so many different things.
Totes.
Sports, acting, anything you probably think of it, it
Yeah.
it spills over in that area. Most
Yeah.
definitely does. But I feel like things are starting to go into a better direction with anime and manga fandoms, in the sense of like people are starting to let those things go.
That's true.
Somewhat, and like people are just having fun talking about anime or manga and enjoying that kind of thing.
That's true. That is true. I think, and I don't necessarily want to say like gatekeepers aren't needed at some points,
Uh-huh.
but they need to know where to stand. A gatekeeper is somebody that stands
or
in
where
front
to
of
or where to
the
or
gate.
where to stop being a
Right.
gatekeeper.
Right. Because I feel like if this was a fantasy manga, which is what you and I fucking enjoy, I feel like the gatekeepers that we know meet you halfway out in the fields with the farmers, all the way up
Uh-huh.
to the fucking gate. And then if you're going to see the king, they take you all the way to the doors at the front of the palace.
Uh-huh.
And you're like, hold on there. Hold on.
Wait a minute.
Aren't you a gatekeeper? Stand beside your fucking gate, okay?
Yeah.
Don't come all the way out here and tell me shit that I don't need to know or don't care to know. And then don't follow me all the way in to wherever I'm going in the middle of the city, just to tell me more shit about things that I don't care.
No, most definitely.
And I do think that is there is a thing. Like, if we're talking about one of your favorite ones, Macross, and I accidentally fuck up on something, then yeah, I think it's okay for you to say stuff about it. Oh, no, you got that wrong. Da, da, da,
Uh-huh.
that's fine. That's acceptable gatekeeping. Now, when you want to sit there and rattle every fucking thing off about it to me, and
Like,
then some, then I'm like,
you gotta push your glasses up. Be like, actually, this happened in the book.
no. No, 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 no. Jesus. Now you make me think. So I accidentally did something the other day when I was at work, and I did something, and my coworker looked at me really hard, and out of nowhere I went, "Did I do that?" So it became this running joke, and we were talking about an anime or something or whatever, and it was based off of the text message you sent about the Goblin Slayer RPG coming out,
uh,
and I was like, "So
yeah.
I hope that there's not a way to play goblins in this." And he was like, "Why?" I go, "Because I'd be the worst goblin of them all." For anybody that knows about Goblin Slayer, you're
The
welcome.
goblins are terrible.
Anybody that doesn't know about it, save yourself. You
Save yourself.
only get into this territory if you want to be there. Okay, if
Yes.
not, please stay out of it because it will screw you up.
Goblin Slayer is definitely an acquired taste.
But I told him I would be the worst goblin of them all. He's like, "Why?" I said, "Well, if my goblins started doing things to people, at the end of it, I would go, 'Did I do that?'" He was like, "You're a horrible human being." I go, "I'm just glad we can make jokes like this because it's written into a book. If this was real life
Yeah.
shit," I said, "I would feel so shitty that I would not come out of my room at all."
Oh yeah. Yeah, I know. Most definitely with that, But yeah, I feel like as time goes on, I hope things will become more accepted and people won't be so close minded with stuff. Which I
That's
do
true.
feel like it is. I do feel like it is going in that direction. Sorry if you hear my dog whining in the background. She just wants some attention. Um, but yeah, uh, I feel. Sorry, I'm having to pet her and talk at the same time. Uh,
One
uh,
stroke pearl two. One stroke pearl two.
yeah, but but I feel like things are starting to go in the right direction, and if we keep everybody's mind open about new things, different types of manga, stuff like that, actually sit down and explain it to people,
Right. Well, and give stuff a chance. You don't know.
Yeah,
Like one of friend of the podcast, Heartless Weeb,
yeah,
is reading a lot of BL and other stuff like that. Not that that's his cup of tea, but he likes to read other bits and pieces of other genres, stories, things like that. I like
hmm
some BL when it pertains to food. Um,
I mean, it's funny. It's funny that you say that because um, I actually got a message from a video I did about a year ago
oh
on my
my god.
YouTube channel.
Yeah.
This is actually just recently. I don't know if I told you about it or not. And it was on that manga that I did, our first impressions on of the Love Me for Who I Am, which is a manga about a non-binary character
Right.
who is a boy who dresses up as a girl,
Right.
And they were like, you got some things wrong. This is how you say them, they, whatever, and what and whatnot. And but it seems like you're trying to learn about this kind of thing, which is a good thing. And it seems like your heart was in like the right place. And I was like, oh man, where I don't know how I'm gonna how should I should respond, like what should I respond to, And I was like, well, I was like, thank you for watching. Thank you for the info, and I'm glad you enjoyed the video, basically,
Next time, look at the timestamp on the video, dumbass.
and like well they were like I know this was like a year ago and whatnot and stuff like that, and I was like, yeah, I did fumble through the video a little bit, might have mispronounced some things by saying like she or him, instead of they them, which it still kind of screws me up a little bit because I'm not used to that,
Well,
um
so I want to point this out with you saying that my coworker brought up a really good thing because he's actually reading a web comic where this particular thing comes up. and it's his character. It's kind of like seems like Ratcatcher from Suicide Squad. Yeah, the second one with Starro.
Yeah.
You know, where we do know that one's a girl, but it could be borderline where this other one that whatever my friend's reading could be a girl, could be a boy, non-binary, trans, whatever. I mean, you just don't know. That's how they're drawn. And and the person, how the rest of this group of people portrays this person, they don't use any pronouns with it.
Yeah.
They refer to this person as if they were speaking to themselves in third person. And I can't remember the person's name, but it would be like me like saying, well, Mike is a good boy. Mike is a good friend. Mike does this. And every time I used it, I would say Mike. I would not say he, she, they, it, whatever. I would just say Mike. And so that was the funny thing that my coworker brought up. He goes, what if we just did away with pronouns altogether and you just use somebody's name?
I don't know.
And that's what it made me, you saying that's what it made me think about, is there are some things like that where, you know, if you're uncertain, why don't you just use a name?
Yeah, no, true. True, yeah. Anyways, you know, I feel like our podcast has gone on long enough. in this, we're starting to go off on little tangents and whatnot. But yeah, like, don't be ashamed.
You have any more questions?
Don't be ashamed. Don't be afraid to be yourself. Is what we're trying to say. You know, it's okay to come out of. It's okay to come out of the proverbial anime manga closet, like Tom Cruise and Kanye West.
I would say
in that South Park episode.
Jesus. I would say act like you're on Naked and Afraid. and that liking anime or manga or whatever, we're all on the same battlefield or in the same environment. And that if the person beside you is also like you, naked and afraid, then most likely you're going to work together. So if you like something, you have the same interests, why not talk about it? If you don't,
we're all naked and afraid together.
If you're not, shut your mouth.
Yeah.
This brought to you by City Council of Otaku Mike.
Go be narrow-minded somewhere else.
This is true. Very true.
Like up your butt and around the corner.
That's a little too far.
I'm telling them to go. I'm telling them to go up their butt and around the corner, not you.
Well, who's going to listen to it though? They're not going to listen to this.
No, they're definitely not going to listen.
They're not going to listen to this, Mike.
They might listen if we title this "Coming Out of the Anime Closet." Who knows? We still haven't thought of a title for this.
That's weird. I don't know.
we still haven't thought about this yet, to say the least. You know, we're spitballing title names or titles for the episode.
This is true.
We're not actually spitting on balls.
You're not spitting on balls.
I mean, do you spit on balls?
I don't spit.
Oh, you swallow?
I also don't swallow. I'm an air breather. I don't do either.
Oh, okay. Anyways, guys, thanks for listening. I hope this conversation was somewhat enlightening, and we did our best.
Hope we also kept you entertained.
We did our best for shooting a podcast on the fly, you know, and talking about something that we kind of spitballed, as you could say, or brainstormed.
And we don't mean off Mike's zipper.
No, we don't. But you can check us out on otakuologypodcast@gmail.com if you want to contact us, or check us on our Instagram at otakuologypodcast, or Twitter And we also have a YouTube channel, Otakuology Podcast. And rate and review us. Share with your friends. Thanks for listening. I hope you guys had fun. And we will see
as
you
always,
next Tuesday.
See you next Tuesday.
Remember
the most important thing.
Wrap it before you tap it.
No. Way more important than that. Jin Grace is always the top. Otaku Mike's always the bottom.
Oh,